you need to be ready for the workload because you will be writing like a full-fledged kind of research. Okay, so before we start writing, I will just give you an introduction to what research really is. All right, so in today's lesson, the objective is we're going to look into what is research, okay? What are the 6 steps of conducting a research, and what are the aims of research? Why do we want to conduct a research, okay? All right, so what is research? We're going to just watch a short YouTube video now. I didn't share my data.
Even lonely at times, but both of them can also be collaborative, a lot of fun, and sometimes even a little bit messy. Another way that research is like cooking is that anyone can learn the skills needed for great research. For many college students, cooking is like research.
Take shortcuts and settle for what is quick, easy, and familiar. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about why research is like cooking. There are a lot of ways research is like cooking. Both of them can be frustrating, even lonely at times, but both of them can also be collaborative, a lot of fun, and sometimes even a little bit messy. Another way that research is like cooking is that anyone can learn the skills needed for great research. For many college students, cooking is like research in another way. Instead of cooking great homemade meals, we sometimes take shortcuts and settle for what is quick, easy, and familiar. Sort of like when we use our old familiar tools like Google and Wikipedia for our research. Why do we take shortcuts and settle for meals of ramen noodles and Pop-Tarts? There are a lot of reasons. Sometimes we're just too busy, don't have enough time to cook a full meal. Sometimes we leave things to the last minute, and then we're stuck making a meal with whatever we have on hand. With research, we found that students advise other students to start early so that they aren't stuck writing a research paper with only the resources they can find the night before the paper is due. Many of the same guidelines that apply to cooking apply to doing research. In cooking, as in research, you have to plan ahead and know what you want to make. Good cooking and good research both depend on quality ingredients. To write a great research paper, you'll need to find high-quality resources. And just like you can't create a full meal out of only a few ingredients, you need a variety of resources to craft a convincing research paper. Finally, just like most chefs make meals that they themselves would want to eat, you'll find you do your best research when you pick a topic that you care about. A big part of planning ahead is knowing what you're making. You have to have a recipe. The same is true for writing a research paper. You have to have a topic and a general plan for what kind of paper you want to write. An outline of your research argument can serve as your recipe, and it will have the added value of telling you what kinds of resources or ingredients you need to write your paper. The next step, of course, is to go shopping. Just like you turn your recipe into a shopping list, you need to turn your research outline into a list of the type of resources you need. By creating a shopping list, you're taking control of the kinds of resources that you'll use in your research paper, instead of just settling for what you can find or what you have on hand. And remember that the research you're doing is likely to require more than just books. You may need newspaper or journal articles, or you may want to consult some items in your library's special collections. One very important step in both cooking and research is the taste testing stage. Great chefs do lots of taste testing so that they can find just the right ingredients for the meal they're making. You need to do the same for your research. You should plan on looking at plenty of books, articles, and abstracts before you settle on the resources that you actually need. Now that you have your recipe and all the ingredients you need, it's time to create your meal. Remember that a great recipe calls for the chef to mix the ingredients together just right so that they work together to create the final product. The same is true with a research paper. You can't just throw all your resources into your paper. You need to synthesize them and relate them to one another. And you need to put your own garnish on your meal. Put your own voice into your research paper so that it isn't just a summary of all your sources. If you remember that research is like cooking and that it requires planning, a recipe, and great ingredients, you will produce research that is the equivalent of a gourmet meal. Bon appetit!
Okay, so as you can see in the YouTube video just now, okay, writing a research paper is like cooking. You need to plan what you want to cook. So you need to, likewise, you need to plan what you want to write. Okay, so once you have planned what to cook, what to write, you need to prep for the ingredients. As for cooking, you know the ingredients like onion, chicken, okay, garnishes. For research paper, the ingredients will be books, journal articles, resources, basically. So once you have all the ingredients, what you're gonna do with them, you're gonna prep them, right? For cooking, you need to cut, dice, wash, rinse, and repeat and whatever, okay? But for research, you need to read the articles. You need to just take the main important key points that you need, and you're gonna just take them out first, okay? So you're gonna take them out and put it systematically in a table, in short notes, whatever it is, but you need to prep them. So you need to read, understand, and take out the main important ideas only. So once you have prepped them, now you have to cook them, right? You have to cook your ingredients, right? So you need to, for research paper, you need to actually put your ingredients, or you put your resources or your sources in different areas or parts of your research paper. Okay, so this is very important because not everything goes into introduction, which is chapter 1, and not everything goes into chapter 2, 3, 4, or 5. So technically we have 5 chapters. So we need to decide what goes into which part, section, or chapter. Okay, so once you are done with that, as for cooking, you need to plate it, garnish it. As for research, you need to edit and proofread it before you can submit. For cooking, you need to garnish it, plate it, wipe off all the dirt, whatever that is messy, okay, present it in a very sophisticated manner, and then you're going to serve it to your guests. For your research paper, you need to edit, you need to proofread whatever things that are not right, spelling errors, grammatical errors, before you can submit your research paper. Of course, turn it in, make sure it is under 15%, okay, so on and so forth. So that is why she compared cooking to writing a research paper, because it is not difficult. Cooking is not difficult, but to cook a good meal requires a lot of effort, preparation, and so on and so forth. That is why we need the same thing too. Okay, so that is why research is not difficult, but it's very tedious. The work is quite tedious because you need to look for sources, you need to prep them, you need to write, you need to proofread, so on and so forth. Okay. I'm not going to do the discussion today, okay, because I want to go to introduction to research straight, okay. All right, so because I want to start doing this as soon as possible, okay, I want you all to start writing as soon as possible really, okay. So our activities in class will require you to work on your research paper with your partner, okay. So you will be actually, I want you all to think of who you can work with, all right, who you can work with. This is very important because you will need this throughout the entire semester. So make sure you can work with, you choose a partner that you can work with, and there wouldn't be any problems for you. Okay, you can start thinking about it from now on, okay, because I will need the names by next class, okay. So you will be thinking of your research topic and your partner by end of this class, okay. We are going to speed up the process a little, okay. So without further ado, we're going to go through introduction to research, okay. So research is a process of steps used to collect and analyze information to increase our understanding of a topic or issue. Okay, so research, right, basically it is a systematic process, okay. It is a systematic process where we want to collect certain information to solve a problem, to analyze the situation, or just to explore and understand the situation. Okay, like when there is coronavirus, COVID, they did many research to understand the virus first. Okay, then only they proceed to actually creating a vaccine to counter the virus. So you need research. Okay, their research is lab-based. They take the coronavirus and they put it under microscope, and then they look at how it reacts, how it spreads. Okay, then they document the process, the characteristics, okay, so on and so forth. The same with our research. Our research is not lab-based. we are more of a social science and liberal arts kind of researcher. So we collect data in three main methods. The first method is we do conduct interviews. The second method is we distribute survey questionnaire, and the third method is observation. Okay, because our area of research is very much like, you know, concerning human behavior, concerning human characteristics, more towards that kind of thing. So we can only collect data in three main methods: survey, interview, and observation. We observe how people behave. We get their thoughts and feelings through survey questionnaire and interviews. Okay, so basically, when we are doing a research, we need to have pose a question. We need to have a question of what we want to find out. So posing a question here refers to what we want to find out. It is also known as research question. Before we start with doing a research, there must be a question, or there must be some answers that we want to find. Okay, so those answers that we actually later on, when we do our survey questionnaire and all that, those answers can actually answer our question that we posed earlier before we start conducting our research paper. Okay, then once you have posed a question, we want to collect data to answer the question. So I told you earlier how we collect data, right? Three main steps, okay, three main methods: survey questionnaire, interview, and observation. Okay, so once we have collected data, then we can answer the question. Okay, so this is what introduction to research is. What is a research? Okay, it is a systematic process to collect information so that it answers our question, known as research question. Okay, so like what I told you earlier, it's a careful, systematic, patient study topics and to come up with certain solutions. So these are some of the main reasons why people conduct research. Okay, so, and there are certain aims of education research. Okay, education research and normal research that we just go on Google and, you know, find information that we want is a bit different, yeah, because this information that we are going to look for is not from Google. Okay, but rather we will go to places like, I'm not sure if you've heard of this, Google Scholar. Have you heard of Google Scholar? Okay, this is Google Scholar. So Google Scholar is for scholars like you. Okay, so Google Scholar is a search engine where you will find published journal articles, okay, and also research in general. Okay, so why do we want to do or conduct research? Okay, because research adds to our knowledge. Okay, whatever that we don't know or we want to find out, okay, it contributes to existing information, okay, solution, and also addresses a gap in knowledge. Like I told you earlier, we want to find a solution. We want to explore and understand a topic or issue better. Okay, we just want to address a gap. There's something that we don't know yet, so we want to find out. Okay, so this is aim number one. Research adds to our knowledge. Okay, aim number two is research improves practice. Okay, so new practices that have been tried in other settings or situations. So there must be something that have been tried in other situations, like COVID being tried out in US. So now I want to try it on Asian people now. Okay, so I bring it here and I try it. So I want to see whether is it as effective as it is on Caucasians or not. Okay, because we Asians and Caucasians, we have somehow different structure. Maybe genetically we are different. We are more susceptible to different diseases. Okay, like Chinese, we are more susceptible to what you call that, cataracts. Okay, so different people, different races are more susceptible to different diseases. Okay, white people are dumb confirm, is it? Okay, so next is research informs policy debates. Okay, once a research has been conducted, okay, it can help policy makers, which are our politicians, to weigh various perspectives. So for example, Pfizer conducted their vaccine, okay, has proven to have 92.4% effectiveness. So because of this research, it informs governments all over the world that this vaccine is effective. So because this vaccine is effective, that is why many countries around the world have already purchased that vaccine, right, including us, Malaysia. Okay, so yeah, so that is why research is very important. First of all, it adds to our knowledge. It helps us to explore, understand a certain issue better. It helps us to find solution. It helps us to just answer or tell us things that we don't know yet. Okay, and it improves practice. That means it helps us to improve. Basically, if there's something new, we want to know if it works here or not. We try to conduct or duplicate or replicate other people's research, and we conduct it on our own people to see if it works as well. So it improves us as well. If it really works, then we can bring the practice over here. Okay, and of course, it makes a politician to decide on certain issues. Okay, like buying vaccines, for example. Like remember last time I don't know if you remember, but I think about 10 years ago we used to have maths and science in English. Do you know that? Then they reverted back to BM, okay, because they were doing like a research to see if it works or not. But if it doesn't work, then they revert it back. Okay, so these are all research. Okay, so during that period of time, few years, the researchers were doing research, okay, on whether English in maths and science works as well as BM in maths and science. So they found out that it does not. That's why they reverted it back to BM, Bahasa Malaysia. Okay. All right. So for example, one of the issue in Malaysian education, okay, 28% of students achieve a minimum credit in 2011 SPM English against Cambridge 1119 standards. So poor proficiency, English proficiency among fresh graduate has since 2006 also been consistently ranked as one of the top 5 issues facing Malaysian employers. So this is a problem because our students are not very proficient in English. It shows in the results and it also shows in our employment sector. So as a researcher, okay, I want to improve this. I want to find out what is the problem. Okay, I want to understand this better. Okay, so why are our Malaysian students so poor in English? So as a researcher, one of the method that I can do is I can go to high schools, I can observe their teaching, I can send questionnaires and ask the students what are the challenges that they face learning English. So when I understand it better, I will be able to think of a solution. But right now, if you look at it this way, you don't know what's the reason why they are struggling in the English subject. Okay, so when it comes to research, right, we have 6 steps. First is there's a problem. Okay, students are struggling in English, and this is strongly reflected in their marks, their grades, and also the employers' complaint or comment. Okay, so now we have a research problem already. Okay, so we have a sort of a question that we want to answer. Okay, why are students perform badly in English? Why are they not proficient in English? That is the research question. Okay, so once we have a research question with a problem, then we are going to review the literature. Reviewing the literature means to look into past studies. What other researchers have already conducted, what other researchers found out about this issue through the research that they have conducted. Okay, so this is reviewing the literature. We want to look into past studies, what other people have found out. Okay, then now that we have reviewed the literature, we want to have a purpose for this research because we want to improve students' proficiency level in English. Okay, next is now we have a purpose. We want to collect data. Maybe we can distribute survey questionnaires to high school students, okay, who are taking the English subjects. I mean, all will be taking. So we distribute questionnaires, then we maybe can observe to see what are some of the challenges that they face, okay? Maybe we can actually take a look at why they are not performing well, okay, and how English is being taught in schools in general. So why, what are they being taught? The way are they? Is it the method that they are taught that is not effective? That is why they struggle in English. Okay, so this is all the process of collecting data. Once you have collected data, you have to analyze and you have to interpret that data. Okay, so you have to think of why they are not doing well. Okay, now that they have the data, maybe one of it is what is the challenges? What are the challenges that you face when learning this language? So maybe one of the challenges that they have stated is that because they feel that English is not taught in a way that allows them to communicate and interact freely. So you analyze this maybe because our Malaysian government school setting is that for sekolah kebangsaan, we speak mostly in Malay. For sekolah jenis kebangsaan, they speak mostly in Mandarin. So where is that natural environment for them to interact in that language? Okay, after you have analyzed and you interpreted the data, you're going to report and you're going to evaluate the research. So you're going to present the findings properly in graphs, in table forms, and then you're going to evaluate, okay, what does this mean now? Okay, what does this show? Is it in line with the literature, with past studies, what they found out in the past, or is it a bit different? If it's a bit different, then you're going to state, hey, why? So you're going to analyze it. Okay, so this is the 6 steps of research. Okay, so I think I've already talked to you about this. Okay, so identifying problem, think about a problem that you want to explore. Okay, then you review the journals, reviewing the literature, you locate books, journals, okay, past studies, okay, to actually help you understand this more, whatever that other people have done. So you want to look into this more. Okay, what's the purpose? Collecting data and analyzing, interpreting. I think this is almost the same. Okay, so all these things, they can be categorized into 2 different methods. Okay, sorry, I cannot breathe. Because of the quantitative and the qualitative, they can be categorized into quantitative and qualitative research. All right, so there are basically 2 types of main approaches for our field, which is the social science and liberal arts. Okay, the first one is the quantitative, the second one is the qualitative. Okay, so this is the research process for both qualitative and quantitative research. Okay, first we have the problem, we have literature review, we have research questions, and then we decide whether we want to go with the quantitative or the qualitative research. Okay, so for the quantitative research, it's where we actually collect data based on numbers. That's why it is quantity, it is numbers. When it is words, it is qualitative research. That's why it is called quality. Okay, so that is where we have research designs. Okay, for us, for quantitative designs, they have experimental, correlational, and survey. They will all yield numbers. Okay, then we have qualitative, where there's we try a different certain type of theory. Okay, and ethnography, narrative. These are all qualitative designs. Okay, then we have combined designs, which is mixed method and action research. All right, so after we have research designs, okay, we have our instruments, we have sampling, that means we have our research, our participants. Okay, what are we going to use to collect data? Is it survey, is it interview, is it observation? Then we're going to analyze and we're going to interpret this, and finally we are going to discuss, conclude, talk about the weaknesses of research and give recommendations for future research. Okay, so basically the research process, right? Okay, starts from research problem first, which is chapter 1. Then we go to literature review. This is chapter 2. Then we have quantitative research, qualitative research, research design. This is chapter 3. Okay, when it comes to data analysis and interpretation, this is chapter 4. And this one, discussion, conclusion, limitation, chapter 5 already. Okay, so the entire research process, right, as you can see, can be reflected into the chapters of the research paper that you will be writing. Okay, so I'm not going to go through this today. Okay, so basically, what I want to emphasize here is that there will be two types of research. Okay, but we are going to use the quantitative research approach. We are just going to do the simplest version of it. We are going to just do quantitative, where we are going to create a survey questionnaire on Google Forms, and we will distribute it to our participants, and they will answer it, and we will collect it in terms of percentage, frequency, and so on and so forth. But basically, it is frequency lah, or Likert scale. Okay, so we will just do the one that is the simplest. Okay. Now what I want you to do is okay, maybe we will do this later. Okay. Okay. So now we will move on to ethics of education research, right? So why there are certain things that we need to adhere to when we conduct research, because some researchers or some people, they are unethical. They simply fill up their own survey questionnaire and tell people that that's their data and analyze it, because they are too it is too inconvenient for them to actually distribute the questionnaire and to collect data. So what some of them do is that they simply just fill in their own research paper, their own survey questionnaire, and just analyze based on that. Okay, so why having ethics is important? Because it promotes the aims of research. Remember, what are the aims? Adds knowledge, improves new practice, helps policymaker. So if your data is fake, so how will this improve your people's knowledge in the future? Okay, because you will write the paper, you will publish, and people will read it. Okay, how will your paper help policy makers like politicians to make accurate decisions if your paper is fake? Okay, because you are unethical. So that's why it's very important that we are ethical in doing research. Okay, so promotes the aims of research, promotes the values, ensures that researcher can be held accountable to the public, because whatever that you will be writing, the research that you will be conducting, it will contribute to the field that you are in. Okay, and it also helps to build support for research and promote a variety of other important social and moral values. Okay, so that is why it is very important for us to be ethical. Okay, so these are some of the ethical codes of education research. We need to be honest, we need to be objective, we must have integrity, we have to be careful, we have to be open. That means when we talk about open, right, some people, some researchers, they before conducting that research, they already have like the answer to their research question. They feel that, okay, stress is negative. So all the while they've been thinking negative, the way they write is also very negative. They didn't look for other materials that so look at positive and negative. They just look at the negative aspect. So they are not open. Okay. So when we conduct research, right, we do not have the answer or the end in mind yet. We want to conduct this research because we want to know. Okay. If you already have the answer, why are you conducting this research? Okay. Respect for intellectual property. Do not plagiarize. Do not copy and paste other people's work into your own work. Okay. Confidentiality. Whatever your participants have submitted to you during the interviews or the survey, it must be P&C. You cannot reveal whatever they have told you on some research sites, or cannot reveal their names and their personal details, basically. Okay, and finally, human subjects protection. You have to protect their rights. Okay, so this is ethics of education research, the ethical codes. Okay. So yeah, this one, like I told you before, respect for intellectual property, do not copy and paste. Okay, so how we do that? We can just give citation. You will learn citation in week 3. Okay, so these 2 weeks we will do the planning. You know, when we are cooking, we have to plan what we want to cook, right? So you're going to plan what you're going to write. Okay, after you plan what you're going to write, you're going to buy the ingredients. So you're going to look for the ingredients. Okay, So citations are good, but stealing citation is not good. So some students, what do? They go to journal articles, they go to the reference part, they just copy and paste. Okay, so that is stealing citations. Okay, it is not good. So that is why you will need to find your own resources and cite them. Okay. All right. Okay, I have a sample research here. It's called the impacts of stress on academic performance. So I want to show you, okay, a sample research paper of what my students have done. Okay, these two students are from March 2020. Okay, they just finished. Okay, so this is a rather new one. Okay, the impacts of stress on university students' academic performance. Okay, so if you look at the research topic, right, you will see an independent variable and a dependent variable. Can you see? So your research topic will look the same as well. The impacts or the effects of something on something. Okay, you will follow this format as well. Okay, the impacts of maybe K-pop on students, university students, maybe behavior, consumption behavior, or something like that. So there must be an IV, independent variable, and that must be a DV, dependent variable. Okay, so we will have abstract, we will have a cover page, we will have abstract, we have chapter 1, which is introduction. Okay, we will have chapter 2, which is literature review, right? And then we will have chapter 3, which is methodology. Okay, then we will have chapter 4, which is data analysis there, findings and discussion. This is chapter 4. And finally, we have chapter 5.